picked up in a NewsX Sunday Guardian World exclusive after inflicting atrocities on the residents of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and terrorizing the Balochis. Yet another ugly face of Pakistan has been exposed. The reports suggest that the Pakistan army has been using chemical weapons against the residents of the Khyber Pakhtunkwa region in order to suppress the demand for a separate state. Now, survivors of the brutal attack have exposed as to how the Pakistan army is using chemical weapons in addition with other means of destruction against the Pashtuns who've been demanding for a separate state. These are the visuals of protest. This is a shocker where Pakistan army is using chemical weapons against people of its own country. These people are Pashtuns. They've been demanding for a separate nationhood within Pakistan, and the manner their revolt is being crushed down by the Pakistan army is a clear violation of human rights. Now, reports are coming in that the Pakistan army has used chemical weapons on the Pashtuns in order to suppress them. After the atrocities that were seen in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, after the atrocities that were seen in Balochistan, this is yet another big expose as to what the Pakistan army is actually doing. Now, this clearly puts Pakistan in a league of those nations, in the infamous league of those nations who have used chemical weapons against their own people. And also to discuss more on this, we are joined in by our Sunday Guardian reporter, Ariba Falak. Now, Ariba, if I may come to you, this is a shocker. Everyone witnessed what Pakistan was doing in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Everyone knew what they were trying to do in Balochistan, the manner in which the brutal suppression which the Pakistan army was resorting to. But this is something new. Even in the Pakhtunkwa region, this is what the Pakistan army is resorting to. Shed some more light on this.
So the incident that we are reporting right now, the pictures that we are showing is of members who come from the same family. They used to live in Waziristan, where they were bombarded by chemical weapons, allegedly by Pakistan army. So once they were able to escape Waziristan, they went into Bannu. Bannu is a region where, according to a WHO 2014 report, there are approximately 950,000 IDPs living in this region. IDPs are internally displaced people who have fled Waziristan and other regions in FATA, federally administrated tribal areas, to escape Pakistan Army's war against the militants living in the region. So these people, when they came to Bannu, the doctors examined them, and that was only at that time were they were able to understand that, okay, so we have been infected by the chemical weapons. The situation is really bad. The separatist leaders who are trying to promote the cause are right now demanding that the international human rights organizations should be intervening. They should stop use of chemical weapons by Pakistan army. As I've already told you, there are 950,000 people according to a 2014 report. We don't know how many people are currently affected by this.
Absolutely, Ariba. You know, the visuals that we are looking at are extremely disturbing. They're so disturbing that we've got to blur some of those images that we are showing in. Now, Pakistan is clearly in violation of the Geneva Conventions. Do we know at all as to what are these chemical weapons that are being used by Pakistan against its own people?
I'm sorry, I couldn't. Hello?
Do we have any information as to what these chemical weapons are? What is the nature of these chemical weapons
no.
that are being used by Pakistan against its own people?
The problem is that the doctors there are very limited, and not all of them have expertise to understand what is the nature of these chemical weapons. So which is why we have limited information on what kind of weapons these are, and we only know that Pakistan Air Force drops them on the people.
Right. Ariba, do continue to stay on with us. We also joined in over the phone line by Umar Daud, who's one of the separatist leaders in Pakistan belonging to the Pashtuns. Mr. Daud, this is something that's taken a lot of people by shock. You know, the atrocities committed by Pakistan, this is something that was quite well known in Balochistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but the exact same strategy is being used by Pakistan even in the Pakhtunkwa region. What more can you tell us about this?
Actually, Pakistan is a black hole of human rights violations. So Pakistan has been using chemical weapons since long, even since my childhood when I was in 8th class in 2003, I remember. But very recently, there have been about tens of families who have been affected by use of the chemical weapons which the Pakistani F-16 dropped on the people of Waziristan and tribal agency. And as you see in the pictures that I sent you, you can see a family, a whole family, which is the victim of chemical weapons. And there is no journalist or media which can enter into Waziristan because it is heavily cordoned off by Pakistan militaries. So that's why no one can report from that area. But that family was displaced from the war zone to the nearby district Banu, where people approached them and people did fundraising for them. But the doctors, they didn't want to disclose or leak this information because they were threatened. And they were whispering among one another that the Pakistan army is using chemical weapons against civilians.
And also, Mr. Umar Daud Khattak, when we look at what is happening here, this is a very, very serious violation of essential human rights of the Geneva Convention. And do we know of the extent to which these kind of atrocities have been committed in the Pakhtunkhwa region?
Yeah, we have witnessed about tens of families, and the number is in hundreds, the victims of chemical weapons. But apart from them, Pakistan has also been using nuclear weapons at short ranges. They do nuclear tests in Balochistan and Waziristan and tribal agencies, which affect the people, and the newborn babies, they're affected.
Right. And also, if I may just ask you a few more questions with relation to what is happening, as you are a Pashtun activist. Tell us about this. You're also a separatist leader as well. So tell us about the relationship which the Pakistan state has with the Pashtun region. Is it essentially viewed, the Pakistan state, is it viewed as an oppressive state that has actually occupied the Pashtun region?
Yes, in Pakistan, as I told you before, Pakistan is a black hole of human rights violations, and it has taken these areas by force just to make it as terror camps. Pakistan is evacuating the civilians into Afghanistan and displacing it in Khyber Pakhtunkwa and Balochistan, and making this region a terror industry where it breeds suicide bombers and terrorists, which it exports to the rest of the world.
Right, Mr. Umar Khattak, please do continue to stay on with us. In the meanwhile, we are also joined in by Mr. Tariq Fateh. Mr. Fateh, this is yet another expose that shows as to what Pakistan is doing against its own people. Your reactions on this, sir?
Well, Pakistan is primarily the Punjab region. The rest of the areas of what is called Pakistan is their colonies. And especially in the Pashtunkwa area, they need to depopulate areas where they feel a future Azad Pashtunistan movement will rise. You have to understand this is the same area, from an Indian context, which was a Congress-led government in 1947 led by Bacha Khan's party, which was given away to Pakistan. So there is deep resentment over Islamabad's rule in these areas. It's not as defining as what's happening in the independence war in Balochistan, but certainly what Pakistan's military has been doing, using its proxies in the Taliban and the Punjab-based jihadi guerrilla, Islamists, it's a concern for the people of Pashtunistan. They have faced the most brutal war on them in the name of fighting terrorism, and it's unlikely that there will be any peace in Pakistan as long as the army and the intelligence services have control over the government.
Right, Mr. Fateh, do continue to stay on with us. We're also joined in by a Baloch activist, Khyber Haider. Mr. Haider, everyone was aware of what Pakistan was doing in Balochistan, but now these are shocking visuals and shocking reports that are coming out from the Pashtun region as well. Does this take you by surprise at all as to what the Pakistan army is doing in order to suppress a kind of a rebellion by the people there?
Actually, it's now clear that the Pakistani military has been using the Pashtun against Pashtun. You know, their FC is actually comprised of Pashtun ethnic people. So in that area, in the name of war against terror, they are using Pashtun against Pashtun. The FC and the army are just burning houses and raising fields. So now the people of Pashtunistan are getting to know that the Pakistani military and the Pakistani establishment is actually playing a game and using Pashtun people against Pashtun.
Absolutely.
That's
You're
why
raising an
there
important
is
point here. You're saying that the Pakistan military and establishment is using Pashtuns against Pashtuns. Mr. Fateh, if I can actually come back to you on this. Now, Pakistan has shown deep interests in controlling the political system in Afghanistan, and considering that Taliban, who are in power predominantly, were essentially Pashtuns. So one would have thought that they would have perhaps treated the Pashtuns a little better. But what we are seeing here is that this is suppression of the very worst kind that has been, given out, meted out to the Pashtuns by the Pakistani army.
Well, to a certain degree, the Pakistan state has incorporated many segments of the Pashtun elites, and that is why there was such a role for people like Imran Khan over there, who are not even Pashtuns, but he was able to win a seat from Peshawar. But there is, I would suggest, confusion within Pashtun nationalists. They have been tippy-toeing around the idea of whether they can be part of a federation of Pakistan or whether they should be an independent Pakhtunistan on its own. Only time will tell, but my prediction is sooner or later the borders of what is left of Pakistan will be the Indus River, and anything west of that would be what has historically been the Pashtun lands of Pakhtunistan or even Afghanistan.
Right, and also if I can now come back to you, Mr. Khattak, you are a Pashtun activist. Now, this was something that's actually fairly well established, that Pakistan, especially the army, wanted to have a close alliance with the Taliban, some members of which are also Pashtuns. But here, it's almost antithetical that the very same Pashtuns should be attacked by the Pakistani army in this manner. So talk to us a bit about this conflict within the Pashtuns itself, where one segment at least seems to be supporting the Pakistani army, while the other is suffering this brutal repression.
You asked me this question.
Yes, Mr. Omar Khattak, that is for you.
Actually, there is two classes in Pashtun. One is the secular Pashtun class and one is the Islamist Pashtun class. Pashtuns are in fight with among themselves. The secular Pashtuns are fighting the Islamist Pashtuns. Islamist Pashtuns doesn't only are the Taliban, but we have Islamist political parties as well, like Jamaat Islami and Jamiat Ulama Islam. And if we see in Afghanistan, we have Hizb Islami. So the secular Pashtuns have been fighting the Islamist Pashtuns. And the Islamist Pashtuns are supported by the Pakistani state. And the secular Pashtuns, they are looking for the support of an international power. So they will be soon in independent Pashtunistan.
Right. Mr. Khattak, do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, we're also joined by Mr. Fawad Chaudhry, who is an ex-advisor to Pakistan Prime Minister. Mr. Chaudhry, this is a shocking, and if one may also dub it, one of the most repressive manners in which people have been dealt with here. Your reactions on this, sir?
Well, where people have been dealt miserably?
Essentially what is being reported, these are reports which are coming in from the Pakhtunwa region, where Pakistan army has been accused of using chemical weapons against its own people to cull down their...
Where in Pakhtunkhwa region?
Now, this is something which the Pashtun activist, Mr. Umar Daud Khattak, can answer this. Mr. Khattak, this question will be for you.
In Waziristan, we have so many victims in Waziristan where Pakistan Air Force dropped bombs which contain chemical weapons.
So, Mr. Fawad Chaudhry, how do you respond to that? Here is a Pashtun activist who says very, very categorically that the Pakistan army has dropped chemical weapons on the Pashtuns. How do you respond to this?
Yeah.
Okay, now my first demand and request or whatever will be that first always verify your facts and don't like go for every Tom, Dick and Harry who has come to you and bashing Pakistan for everything. First,
well, if I can just clarify that, Mr. Chaudhary, he's not just bashing Pakistan, he's also providing visual proof here. So are you saying that these are images that have been doctored, and do you want to completely discredit these images?
Photoshops are available everywhere, so that's not the problem. So just first hear the facts. North Waziristan is an area on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and the army operation has almost concluded there, and the operation was conducted there on the demand of international, after the UN sanctions and after that the UN and the rest of the world's pressure against the extremists. So North Waziristan was hub of the extremists, and Pakistan Army has conducted a very, very successful operation praised by every nation of the world, including India. In fact, India has also supported that operation against Taliban. India is a signatory to UN resolution against Taliban. So it's not about the operation in Pakhtunkwa region, it's the operation against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And if you want to see, on
Mr. Chaudhary, when you say that the Pakistan Army has been, if I can just interrupt you there, if you say that the Pakistan Army has been going against, has carried out an operation against the Taliban, in a complete blanket manner, not a lot of people will believe, because it is very, very clearly understood by a lot of people that Taliban in many ways has been supported by the Pakistan establishment. So when you say that it was the Taliban that the Pakistan establishment was going after, does not hold water.
Well, see, that is a controversy that India would like to rope in. But as far as this North Waziristan, this specific issue which you are talking about is concerned, every country in the world, including India, has supported that operation. And if your channel would like to support Al-Qaeda and Taliban on that,
no, hang on. Let me actually put it this way. Mr. Chaudhary, you have Mr. Umar Khattak, who is a Pashtun activist, who's leveling these clear, categorical allegations. Now, one would have at least hoped that the Pakistan establishment would have looked at it sympathetically. How do you respond to this man, who is a Pashtun activist, who says that his people are being treated in this reprehensible manner? Now, there must be some level of humanity. You cannot just brush this aside.
I mean, any Tom, Dick and Harry can come on Indian television by bashing Pakistan. I don't know who Umar Khattak is. And he may be an Al-Qaeda or Taliban affiliate. Who knows?
That's a very simple strategy you're using. You're discrediting another person who's coming out and pointing fingers at you. You're essentially saying that he could be a terrorist. You are saying that he could be Taliban, he could be Al-Qaeda. But the fact of the matter is, this is not the approach that needs to be taken in these matters.
He may be a runaway Taliban guy. Who knows?
But here you are making baseless allegations. Mr. Chaudhary, you are making baseless allegations. You've got nothing to prove. He's at least backing it with some photographic evidence which he's willing to back up.
Pakistan and operation in North Waziristan has been, in fact, praised by every country of the world. And it's the first time I'm hearing from you that the operation against Al-Qaeda and Taliban was something Pakistan Army should not have done.
Mr. Chaudhary, let me clarify one point for you. Now, these images that have been put out by Mr. Umar Khattak, they date back to February 2016.
Who is Mr. Umar Khattak? No one knows him. I mean, who
he
is
says
Mr. Umar Khattak?
He is a Pashtun activist. He has come forth.
He's making activist. No one knows him.
Are you saying that there cannot be Pashtun activists? Now, what kind of a question is that?
But who is Mr. Umar Khattak? No one knows him. Is any Tom, Dick and Harry come to your show and say, I'm a Pashtun activist and bashing Pakistan, you start praising him? What kind of work you do?
Mr. Chaudhary, would you at least tell Mr. Khattak, who is from the Pashtun region, who comes out and says that the Pakistan Army carried out these atrocities in the Waziristan area, that at least some kind of a probe will be done? At least that approach, is the Pakistan establishment willing to give to the Pashtuns here?
Well, first is that in North Waziristan, this operation has a huge backing, international backing, and a huge Pakistani backing. And this operation of Zarb-e-Azab has a huge support from the United Nations, from every country of the world. And if someone thinks that the whole world is wrong and Al-Qaeda and Taliban is right, I can't help.
No, again, you're discrediting the person who is coming forth. No, hang on. Mr. Chaudhary, there is a problem with your approach to the way you're responding to this. Now, what he's saying is that chemical weapons were used in the operations in Waziristan. And the way you're responding is you're dubbing him to be someone from Al-Qaeda or Taliban. Is that even fair, Mr. Chaudhary?
The problem is this operation has been praised.
But let me ask you a very straight question. Mr. Chaudhary, take the question here. Did the Pakistan Army use chemical weapons against its own people? Did the Pakistan Army use chemical weapons in its operations in Waziristan? Because that is what Umar Khattak is claiming here.
Just forget it. It's too ridiculous an allegation even to respond. And you have not even prepared your facts. This is the problem. Mr. Umar Khattak, I don't know who is he. But right now the issue is.
Well, you say you do not know who Umar Khattak is. You say you're not willing to even look into the allegations that are put forth here. He's backing it up with proof, while on the other hand, you're trying to discredit him. That is the approach that you're taking. Now, we're also joined in by Ariba Falak, our correspondent, who's got this exclusive. Ariba, this is a classic example of discrediting a person who has come forth with some proof, saying that, look, chemical weapons were used in this case, and the Pakistan establishment does not even want to, say, let's look at what has happened. They're just trying to discredit the person who's come forth with this proof.
So see, when Mr. Fawad is saying that they have no information on who are these people, and that this is an operation which has been universally recognized, he is right in that yes, in 2001, United States of America had given aid to Pakistan to fight the militants in FATA region. So yes, the world knows about that the Pakistan Army is fighting. But the allegation, or let's say the claim that the separatist leader of Pashtunistan put ahead is that while they are fighting these militants, they are hurting the civilians. That is the point of the story, that even though you are fighting the bad guys, you're not supposed to hurt the people who have nothing to do with this whole problem. The family in this picture is a civilian. They don't have any religious extremism problem going on. They are not extremists, but still they are the ones who are getting affected by these chemical weapons. And that is the whole point of this report.
So, Mr. Chaudhary, if I can take that question back to you, it is essentially a problem of collateral damage that you're talking about. Are you at least willing to accept that probably the Pakistan establishment could have used chemical weapons, which has inflicted this misery on this family?
First, obviously, thank you very much for recognizing the little bit of truth in that the Pakistan Army is fighting the bad people there, and the world knows about it, and the world has a sanction of this operation and praise for this operation. Now, as far as the collateral damage is concerned, I can tell you there was a huge process through which people were asked to move from that area. So now, right now, in Bannu area, that is next settled district in KP, we have millions of refugees there, and there is no civilians. There are no civilians in North Waziristan and in area where Zarb-e-Azab is going. So the issue of collateral damage is not possible, because there is all the IDPs, internally displaced persons, have been settled in other districts temporarily, and now in fact, Pakistan is asking the world to help Pakistan to resettle these people, because the operation is almost close to end. So I think, and even India has supported that operation. I don't know how come the Indian media is trying to defame this operation, because it has official support of even India, even the whole world. So I think this Mr. Umar Khattak, whoever he is just
are you at least willing to talk? No, hang on a second. No, before you try, go on this rant of trying to discredit this person, are you at least willing to listen to the grievances which Umar Khattak wants to put forth? Just willing to perhaps, acknowledge that yes, there could have been collateral damage that could have taken place, because there are, as you yourself admitted, a lot of people.
There cannot be a collateral damage because the people have already been moved from that area. So collateral damage is where there are civilians, where there are people, innocent people there, but there's a war going on. So people have already been placed to other areas. There are no people. How can there be collateral damage?
Right. So that is the approach of the Pakistan establishment. One would believe that there was no collateral damage, but we'd have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Fawad Chaudhary, Mr. Khattak, Mr. Tariq Fateh, and all the others for joining us. We'll slip into a short break. More news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned.